His home stood in ruins. The once familiar building was reduced to rubble, windows shattered, walls crumbled. Staring through the broken frame, Yang-soo tried to convince himself the destruction was due to old age, that the collapse had nothing to do with what he feared. But his trembling hands betrayed him. He stood frozen at his own doorstep, haunted by the thought of what might lie inside. What if his family wasn't there? What if all that awaited him were their lifeless bodies? The fear was suffocating, every breath heavy with dread. He whispered assurances to himself that they were alive, that opening the door would prove everything was fine. Yet his hand refused to move. The handle remained untouched. Behind him, Jayan watched in silence, understanding exactly what Yang-soo was going through. Yang-soo had driven like a madman, covering a journey meant to take an hour in just 20 minutes, fueled only by the desperate hope of reuniting with his family. But now, standing before the door with the weight of potential tragedy waiting on the other side, he couldn't bring himself to act. He knew that if death greeted him inside, it might break him completely. Seeing this, Jayan stepped forward. He placed a steady, supportive hand on Yang-soo's shoulder and quietly offered to open the door for him. Yang-soo remained frozen, his face twisted in a mix of fear and frustration. Almost in tears, Yang-go begs Kim to open the door for him. Kim, recognizing the overwhelming fear of confronting one's worst nightmare, steps forward. If their roles were reversed, he knows he would be just as terrified, hoping someone else would face it for him. Turning back with a reassuring glance, Kim tells Yang-go he's about to open the door. But before his hand touches the handle, the door creaks open from within. Both men freeze in shock. Yang-go's eyes widen as his wife and daughter appear before him. His wife softly calls his name, her voice trembling with warmth, while his daughter cries out, "Daddy." Tears stream down his wife's face, and Yang-go breaks down as well. She rushes into his arms, and the three embrace as if they'll never let go again. The moment is raw and overwhelming. Kim stands silently at a respectful distance, allowing them this reunion. Through sobs, Yang-go asks his wife how she knew to open the door. She explains that she heard voices and, peeking through the small hole, saw him standing outside. His daughter, still weeping, blurts out, "Dad, I hate you. Why did you make me wait so long? I was so scared." After some time, Yang-go's wife notices Kim standing in the background. "Who's this?" she asks. Only then does Yang-go remember him. Before he can answer, Kim's vision begins to blur. His legs buckle, and he collapses. Yang-go calls his name in panic, but Kim hears nothing. His body finally gives out after days without rest. Exhaustion claims him, and he sinks into darkness, slipping into a dream. In the dream, he's struck though not by a fist, but by a pillow. Standing above him is his older sister, wearing a mischievous grin. She swings the pillow again, knocking him down. Kim yells at her, complaining about how hard she hit. But she only scoffs and says, "Hard? That was barely anything. Don't be such a crybaby." Kim threatens to run to their father and tattle on her, stomping off with determination, while she stands there like the champion of a pillow fighting contest. Suddenly, the scene shifts. Kim's father sits with him and his younger sister, Coral, gently trying to mediate their quarrels. He reminds Kim that family, no matter how annoying, is precious. One day, he says, Kim will look back and realize how lucky he is to have siblings, and how even small fights are built on love. He emphasizes that their bond will always be something to treasure. The memory changes again. Kim's mother storms into the room, scolding his father for lounging around instead of helping with dinner. She's frustrated, while he sheepishly tries to brush it off. Moments later, the family gathers around the dinner table. Laughter fills the air as they share stories and enjoy the meal together. Kim's mother suddenly turns her sharp gaze to his older sister, Soil, and teases her about having a crush, noticing how she's constantly glued to her phone. Flustered, Soil insists she's just messaging friends. Their mother remains skeptical, but lets it go. Kim's father, unable to resist, brings up Soil's interest in boxing. With a smirk, she admits that joining the boxing club was the real reason she chose her middle school. Hearing this, Kim perks up at the mention of middle school, already excited about following in her footsteps. A year later, Kim enrolls in the same school, brimming with anticipation. But reality is harsh. Instead of finding friends, he becomes a target. Older students beat him, mock him, and torment him daily. Sensitive and unwilling to fight back, Kim endures the humiliation in silence. Then, one day, everything changes. Soil storms into the scene like a force of nature. With a glare sharp enough to freeze anyone in place, she grabs one of the bullies and breaks his hand with a single punch. For Kim, it's both relief and awe his rescuer has arrived. But the relief doesn't last. Frustrated with her brother's weakness, Soil declares his training begins immediately. From that moment on, Kim's harsh, unforgiving lessons under his sister begin. It's brutal, but in time, it transforms him. Soon, no one dares to bully Kim anymore. For a time, life finally begins to calm down. He makes friends, laughs more often, and drifts comfortably through middle school. But time moves quickly, and before long, change arrives in an unexpected way. One day, while Kim is lounging with his PS5, barely keeping up with life, his younger sister surprises him and Soil by announcing that she's landed a job at a nursing school. Then comes the moment that shatters his fragile peace. His father walks into the room and tells him the time has come. At first, Kim doesn't quite understand, but when the meaning sinks in, his world turns upside down. It's time for him to enlist in the military. His family worries, though Kim does his best to wear a mask of confidence. Outwardly, he plays the part of the tough son, but inside he's trembling. The thought of leaving his family behind terrifies him. And from there, the rest becomes history. When Kim opens his eyes again, he feels disoriented, his body heavy and weak. He lies in an unfamiliar bed, struggling to piece together his memories. He recalls standing outside Yongo's door, meeting his family, and then collapsing. After that, nothing. His thoughts spiral in panic. Did Yongo betray him? Instinct takes over. He summons his portal and draws out a massive axe, gripping it tightly as if bracing for danger. But then, a calm and warm voice interrupts his racing thoughts. Kim turns quickly, startled, only to find Yongo's wife and daughter sitting at the table, staring at him with puzzled expressions. Reality clicks into place. He's inside Yongo's house. Looking to the side, he sees Yongo fast asleep, clearly exhausted. It dawns on Kim that he must have collapsed at the doorstep. Yongo's wife had said he fainted and had been out ever since. He hadn't realized how much the journey had drained him. Kim glances at the axe still clutched in his hands and feels a wave of embarrassment. Why had he drawn it in the first place? Quickly, he hides it back into his portal, silently hoping Yongo's wife didn't notice. That was the last thing she needed to see. Gathering himself, he asks how long he's been asleep. She explains it has only been a few hours. Then her expression softens. With a gentle smile, she thanks him sincerely, her gratitude heavy in every word. She tells him that if not for his courage, Yongo wouldn't have made it back alive. The emotion in her eyes, paired with her slight bow, makes Kim shift uncomfortably. He isn't used to this kind of recognition, and he tries to brush it off, insisting it wasn't all him. Yongo had helped as well. Just then, Yongo stirs awake. Still groggy, he jumps in to support his wife, claiming Kim did far more than he admits. To him, driving Kim here was nothing compared to the countless times Kim had saved his life. Yongo calls him a true lifesaver, convinced that even if he hadn't made it, Kim would have pulled through on his own. Before the moment grows too heavy, Yongo's wife changes the subject. She notes that everyone must be hungry. Right on cue, Kim's stomach growls, reminding him he hasn't eaten in what feels like forever. With a small laugh, she adds that Yongo had refused to eat without him, waiting until Kim woke up. That simple act makes Kim smile. Yongo, goofy grin and all, always insisted on eating together. Soon, a steaming bowl of kimchi stew is placed in front of him. The aroma alone makes his mouth water. The smell carries him back to memories of his mother, filling his chest with a bittersweet warmth. The stew isn't fancy, and Yongo's wife even apologizes for the lack of ingredients, but to Kim, it doesn't matter. This is his favorite meal. After everything he's endured, nothing feels more comforting. He takes the first bite, and it's pure bliss. The rich flavor bursts across his tongue like fireworks, warmth spreading through his body. For a moment, the world fades away. He's back at the family table, sharing meals, wrapped in the comfort of simpler times. But as the last spoonful disappears, a heavy sadness settles over him. For the first time in 3 long months, he's eaten a meal that truly reminded him of home. The ache of longing for his family overwhelms him, and his silence doesn't go unnoticed. The mood shifts as their talk turns back to the journey ahead. Yongo mentions their next destination, Gangnam. At that name, Kim freezes, realization striking him hard. He stood there, stunned, struggling to fully comprehend Yongo's words. At first, it all seemed strange and difficult to grasp. Then, Yongo carefully laid it out. He explained that he had already spoken with his wife, and she insisted that since Kim had helped him reunite with his family, he should return the favor. Kim remained uncertain. Even if Yongo drove him to Gangnam, how could he possibly make the journey back alone? They stepped outside for some fresh air, and that's when Yongo revealed his plan. He would drive Kim to Gangnam in his truck, while Kim left his electric bike with him. Once they arrived, Yongo would ride the bike back home safely. Hearing this eased some of Kim's concerns, though an uneasiness still lingered. Kim couldn't shake the question pressing at his mind: why was Yongo willing to risk so much for him? Yongo was an excellent driver, and with the bike, he could avoid most dangers, but he lacked any fighting skills. If he encountered a monster, it would be the end. With his truck full of supplies and his family safe, why take such a gamble? Finally, Kim voiced the question aloud, asking why Yongo was putting himself in harm's way. Yongo smiled knowingly, as though he had anticipated it. His answer was simple. Why had Kim helped him back in the tunnel? Kim hadn't asked for anything in return or demanded repayment, he had just helped. Without Kim, Yongo admitted, he and his family wouldn't have survived. Now it was his turn to repay that kindness. They were both struggling to survive, and although Kim had special powers, that didn't make his hardships any lighter. Yongo understood what it meant to be desperate, clinging to the hope that loved ones were still alive somewhere. That was why he had braved the tunnel before, and why now he wanted Kim to experience that same joy of reunion. With a sly grin, Yongo reassured him he wouldn't take reckless risks. He trusted his driving skills to get them through, so Kim didn't need to worry. Kim then recalled the moment they first approached the tunnel, when Yongo could have abandoned the group and escaped in the car with the keys left inside, but he hadn't. He had stayed. That memory made Kim realize Yongo wasn't about to abandon him now either. He just wasn't one to admit the depth of his loyalty. Smiling, Kim finally agreed, but with one condition. If Yongo was going with him, his family had to come along too. Kim explained that he had upgraded his subspace ability, allowing him to bring others inside. Yongo's family would be far safer there than left behind. Without hesitation, Yongo put on his trademark shades and flashed a confident grin, ready to drive with his unmatched skills. Meanwhile, Kim upgraded his subspace to level 2, using 16 of his 116 mana stones. It could now hold up to 20 people. The system informed him it would require 6 mana stones per day to maintain, but he accepted the cost. It also asked if he wanted to enable external presence in the portal, and he confirmed. Soon after, Yongo, his wife, and his daughter entered the subspace. They were awestruck by what they saw. The vast Logitech center stretched before them, stocked with endless supplies. Kim introduced Pax to the family, reassuring them that Pax would take care of their every need. Yongo's wife was amazed, as though she couldn't believe such abundance was real. Kim told them he had other tasks to handle and encouraged them to enjoy the place in the meantime. Yango then knelt beside his daughter and asked if she wanted to play princess with him. Seeing them laugh and smile together filled Kim with warmth. He couldn't help but smile himself. Then, something unexpected happened. Kim unlocked a new ability, a laboratory within his subspace. It allowed him to combine, classify, and transform any item he stored. The possibilities seemed limitless. As he sat there, his mind raced, and for the first time, he began to wonder if his powers were something far greater than he had ever imagined. He thought back to the day he had first unlocked his ability, the power he called subspace. Back then, his ability was simple. It allowed him to store anything he desired. If he placed an apple inside, it would remain preserved in his subspace indefinitely. But everything changed after a bizarre accident. He accidentally stored the entire Logitech Center. That single event forced his powers to evolve. His subspace fused with the Logitech Center itself, and from that point on, no one could enter it except him. Yet, that wasn't even the strangest part. The PAX AI from within the Logitech Center had merged with his system as well, transforming what had once been a cold, emotionless artificial intelligence into something almost human. And if that wasn't shocking enough, the Logitech systems upgraded too, including its shipment functionality. Now he could launch stored items at speeds of up to 100 kilometers per hour. That feature alone was astonishing, but with PAX AI running the show, it became absolute chaos. Kim never imagined his powers would evolve so drastically, but reaching level 2 had completely rewritten the rules of the game. His subspace now offered endless possibilities. He could store anything once again, and even use it as his own personal laboratory to merge, modify, and create new items. The idea was thrilling, almost as if he were playing Minecraft in real life. The only thought nagging at him was what kind of powers level 3 or 4 might bring. But speculation wouldn't get him there. For now, he lacked the mana stones needed for another upgrade. Instead, he focused on what to add next to his subspace. The Logitech Center had been a game changer. Now, filled with determination, Kim issued a bold command to his system: store the entire Earth. Yes, the planet itself. If it worked, everything would be swallowed by the void, leaving humanity adrift in space. The system asked for confirmation. Tension prickled through him, but he confirmed anyway. 2 long minutes passed. Nothing happened. Then the notification appeared: failure. Earth is outside of the storage range. Kim sighed. Perhaps it was too ambitious. Still, it was worth the attempt. Just then, Yango arrived, mentioning their route to Gangnam. Kim listened but quickly asked why Yango wasn't spending time with his daughter as he had planned. Yango smiled softly and explained that his little girl had always felt afraid in their old home. But here, in this new place, she finally felt safe. For the first time, she was able to sleep peacefully. It was all thanks to Kim. Yango expressed his gratitude, but Kim, ever modest, reminded him that he had been just as crucial. Without Yango's driving skills, Kim doubted they would have made it this far. To him, they were equals. But Yango disagreed, his tone serious, vowing that he would do whatever it took to support Kim. Moments later, they were back on the road. Yango was in his element, his trademark sunglasses on, gripping the wheel with calm intensity. Kim, however, felt uneasy. Something about the air was wrong. With a casual grin, Yango remarked that driving was his one true talent, and no one could match his speed. He told Kim to hold on tight. Kim knew exactly what that meant and braced himself. Then it began. Yango slammed his foot on the accelerator, and the truck rocketed forward. In seconds, they had covered a massive distance. Destruction sprawled all around them, the earth ripped apart, buildings lying in ruin. Yango remained composed, but Kim turned pale, his nerves fraying under the stress. They were close to their destination, Yango assured. But ahead, the road was blocked by military barricades lined with spike strips. Something wasn't right. Kim's instincts screamed at him these weren't normal barricades. A military jeep rolled toward them, but the men inside didn't look like soldiers. Kim tensed. These men weren't the military. They were trouble. He knew if they tried to escape, they'd be cut down instantly. Yongo tightened his grip on the wheel, his voice tense as he asked what to do. Kim opened a portal and told him firmly to get inside. He would handle this himself. Without hesitation, Yongo slipped through the portal, leaving Kim to deal with whatever came next. Kim climbed out of the truck just as 3 men approached, weapons in hand, strutting with the arrogance of men who thought they owned the place. One of them, a hulking brute with more muscle than brains, barked at Kim to step aside. Kim suppressed a smirk and leveled them with a cold, unflinching glare before calmly complying. The men pried open the truck's cargo and froze, eyes widening at the sight of crates stacked with food. To them, it was a treasure trove. Excitement flashed across their faces as they demanded to know if it belonged to Kim. He nodded with composure, but the muscle-bound thug swaggered forward, puffed up with arrogance, and declared the supplies weren't his anymore. From that moment on, they belonged to the gang. Kim knew immediately these weren't soldiers. They were opportunistic scavengers, nothing more. Still, the brute pressed him, demanding to know where he had gotten all of it. Playing the role of a clueless delivery driver, Kim shrugged and claimed he worked at the Logitech Center. They didn't buy it. Their tone sharpened as they pressed for its location. Unbothered, Kim explained that even if he told them, they would never reach it. The roads were blocked, and monsters infested the area. He himself had barely escaped alive. The thug sneered, unimpressed, and demanded to know how much more was stockpiled there. Kim, sticking to his role, claimed the truck was only a fraction of what was stored. One of the gang members checked his watch and muttered that it was almost time. The words left Kim puzzled. Almost time for what? Before he could even process it, the musclehead slammed a fist into his stomach, knocking him to the ground and driving the air from his lungs. As he struggled to recover, another thug pressed a cloth over his face. Darkness claimed him. When Kim regained consciousness, he was bound to a chair in a dimly lit room. His vision swam, but he could make out the bulky brute lounging in what looked like a makeshift throne. Nearby, a soldier's corpse lay sprawled in a pool of blood. The truth clicked immediately. These men had seized the military base. The brute began boasting, describing how they had overthrown the military and crowned themselves rulers. Every evening, at 6 sharp, swarms of monstrous creatures descended on the base. The soldiers had fought valiantly, but their guns weren't enough. Desperate, they had recruited outsiders, people like this gang. But when the defenses collapsed, the thugs turned on their allies and seized control. Now, the brute declared, he was commander here. Kim was only alive because he had a task for him. Return to the Logitech Center with some of the gang, raid it for supplies, and maybe if he proved himself earn a place in their group for protection. Kim's patience snapped. These pathetic scavengers had no idea who they were dealing with. His gaze swept the base, and a thought struck him. This installation would be a perfect addition to his subspace. Without hesitation, Kim commanded Pax to absorb the entire Joint Command headquarters. The brute barely noticed until it was already happening. One moment, he sat on his throne surrounded by walls and soldiers. The next, the base simply vanished. He was left sitting in his chair in the middle of a barren wasteland, dumbstruck. By the time realization hit him, it was too late. Kim had already slipped through his portal, gone without a trace, leaving the self-proclaimed commander sitting alone under the open sky. Around him, the rest of the gang panicked. They gripped their rifles and scanned the horizon, baffled, unable to process how an entire building had disappeared before their eyes. The brute's face contorted with fear and confusion, his wide eyes searching the emptiness for answers he'd never find. Meanwhile, Kim spat onto the ground, noticing flecks of blood. That punch had done more damage than he thought, but it didn't matter. He had taken what he wanted, and the thugs had been left with nothing but shock and dust. He felt himself swaying on the edge of collapse, his vision blurring as exhaustion dragged him down. Storing the base had drained his mana in a way nothing ever had before. His body felt hollow, completely emptied of strength. If he had known it would demand this much from him, he might have hesitated, perhaps taken shelter in his subspace first. But hesitation was no longer an option. He had already made his decision, and now he was left to endure the consequences. All that mattered was reaching his subspace to recover. Kim slipped into the shadows, barely holding himself together, when suddenly the thugs around him froze. The sky had shifted into a deep, blood-red hue, and the air grew heavy with looming darkness. From above, a terrifying sound erupted, hundreds of wyverns descending with wings spread wide, screeching and growling with feral hunger. They came like a storm, their massive bodies blotting out the heavens, determined to tear apart everything in their path. The sight struck the thugs like a thunderclap. Fear ripped through them, sending hardened men into chaos. They scattered in panic, shoving one another as they fled for their lives. Even the thug who had restrained Kim abandoned him in his rush to escape, leaving Kim free to crumple to the ground. Their leader roared after them, furious at their cowardice. He bellowed at his men to hold their ground, claiming their rifles could still bring down the smaller wyverns. He swore he would handle the largest himself. But no one listened. His orders were lost in the stampede as his crew deserted him, too consumed by terror to obey. Rage twisted his face as he cursed them, spitting out words of betrayal. Then the earth trembled, bam, bam, as something enormous landed behind him. The ground itself quaked beneath its weight. Slowly, with dread etched across his features, he turned. What loomed before him froze the breath in his chest. A massive wyvern towered over him, far larger than any he had ever seen. Standing a solid 20 feet tall, its black scales glistened ominously under the crimson sky. Its piercing yellow eyes locked onto him, cold and unyielding. Compared to the others, this was no ordinary beast. It was a nightmare made flesh, 20 times larger than anything he had ever faced, a true monster. Amidst the chaos, Kim slipped quietly into his subspace, dragging with him an injured soldier. The system immediately pinged, asking whether Kim wished to allow the outsider entry. Weary but determined, Kim gave his approval, and the soldier was permitted inside. His own exhaustion pressed down like lead, threatening to make him collapse at any moment. His thoughts raced. He had barely managed to smuggle both himself and the soldier into safety, and he realized how dangerous this ability had become. Storing something as vast as a whole military base in such a desperate moment might not be sustainable the next time. Meanwhile, outside, the black-scaled wyvern still loomed, its gaze fixed unrelentingly on Kim. The intensity of its focus unsettled him. Why was this creature singling him out? Pighead, however, stood before the massive wyvern with reckless confidence. He boasted about his newly gained physical enhancements, bragging that he could shatter boulders with a single punch. With a roar, he lunged forward and struck the beast. But to the colossal wyvern, the blow was meaningless, nothing more than a mosquito bite. The creature didn't even flinch. Then came the sound, the sickening crack of bone. Kim's eyes widened as he turned to see the inevitable. The wyvern's jaws closed around Pighead in a single, devastating bite. In an instant, he was gone, swallowed whole. Yong-Soo rushed to Kim's side, frantic with worry. Kim assured him he was fine, though his body betrayed him, trembling with fatigue. Despite his condition, he had managed to bring the soldier with him, though the man looked barely alive. Together, Kim and Yong-Soo laid the soldier onto a bed, relieved to see his injuries were only superficial scratches. Yet his body told another story, severely malnourished, starved nearly to the bone. Kim recalled Pighead's earlier rant about seizing the military base while struggling with dwindling food supplies. It became clear the soldier had suffered through weeks of hunger, barely surviving. Then Yong-Soo pointed out something strange, urging Kim to follow. Something had appeared within the subspace, and not just something, a massive structure. As Kim approached the vantage point, his breath caught. It wasn't merely the military base. Before him stood what looked like an entire city. His command to the system had been simple: store the base. Yet, without a precise specification, the system had interpreted it differently. It had stored everything the whole city. Kim's thoughts spun in disbelief as he tried to comprehend the scale of what had just happened. Beside him, Yong-Soo stared in stunned silence, equally overwhelmed by the impossible sight laid out before them. Kim knew he had to explore every inch of the military base. Yong-Soo agreed to keep an eye on the soldier and notify him the moment he woke up. Without wasting time, Kim jumped into his Mercedes and began cruising through the sprawling military base city, his mind racing with endless possibilities. Weapons, ammunition, gas masks, vehicles, even tanks. This place was a survivor's ultimate goldmine. But there was a problem. Unlike the Logitech Center, where PAX could manage everything and deliver supplies instantly, this city was massive. Every item would have to be found and retrieved manually. As Kim drove, the scale of the base sank in, and he realized just how enormous the task ahead truly was. Mapping out every corner would be a monumental effort. If he had known it was this vast, he might have stored the weaponry and supplies directly inside his subspace. Now, he needed a strategy. Once he identified the key locations, he would send Yong-Soo to gather ammunition and weapons while he himself prepared to strike through his portal. Then a sobering thought hit him: supplies here weren't infinite. Unlike the Logitech Center's endless stockpile, the base could eventually run dry. No more limitless bullets, grenades, or fuel to waste recklessly. Lost in thought, Kim was suddenly interrupted by Pax, who appeared out of nowhere to correct him. Pax explained that this base wasn't an ordinary stockpile, it had been fully integrated into the Logitech system. Kim's eyes widened as Pax revealed the truth. The military base had merged with his subspace, meaning he could command it just like the Logitech Center. Kim was stunned. Unlimited access to weapons, vehicles, and supplies. Pax confirmed it. The realization hit him like a thunderbolt. His world had just flipped upside down. Endless rifles, ammo, grenades, fuel, everything he could possibly need was now at his fingertips. It wasn't just an advantage. It was game-changing. Still reeling with excitement, Kim asked how long full synchronization would take. Pax admitted it was a massive process, with only 81% completed so far, but offered a solution. If Kim prioritized certain items, Pax could make them accessible immediately. Kim didn't hesitate. His list was simple: rifles, ammunition, grenades, vehicles, and fuel, the lifelines of survival. Pax assured him that synchronization of those essentials would take just 10 minutes. After that, Kim would have unlimited access to everything he needed to fight at full strength. Feeling a surge of confidence, Kim asked if the base had a security system to keep others from interfering. Pax confirmed it did. Relieved, Kim ordered him to lock everything down immediately. Though he trusted Yong-Soo and his family, the rescued soldier was another matter. Kim couldn't risk anyone tampering with his newfound power. Now, standing at his portal, he understood the magnitude of what he controlled: food, vehicles, weapons, everything needed to dominate this apocalypse. But outside, chaos raged. Wyverns tore through Pighead and his lackeys without mercy, the battlefield drenched in blood and fire. Kim knew this storm wouldn't settle anytime soon. Inside, preparations began. Yong-Soo slipped into his old boss's uniform, a nostalgic gleam in his eyes, while Kim gripped his M416 rifle and locked it tight. In front of them stood a massive crate brimming with endless ammunition. Yong-Soo chuckled softly, remarking that it had been years since he last held a gun, and he never thought he'd be back in action. Kim reassured him. He had duplicated thousands of rounds, each box packed with 10,000 bullets. Running out wasn't even a possibility. With a smirk, Kim challenged him. Did he still remember how to shoot? Yong-Soo responded with confidence, picking up his own M416. Let me show you what I was capable of back in the day. He steadied his aim, exhaled, and squeezed the trigger. Each shot struck true, dropping wyverns one after another. Headshot after headshot, Yong-Soo carved through the horde, his accuracy flawless. In minutes, over 50 wyverns lay dead at his feet. After half an hour, his rifle glowed red-hot, smoke hanging thick in the air. As the haze lifted, the ground was carpeted with wyvern corpses. Breathing hard, adrenaline still surging, Yong-Soo grinned. It had been years since he'd felt alive like this. He thinks the threat is gone and they're clear to move forward. But Kim's expression remains tense. Something gnaws at him. He warns Yong-Soo that not every wyvern is dead. Yong-Soo scans the battlefield in confusion. Every creature in sight has already fallen. Yet Kim insists, recalling a massive, black-scaled wyvern he spotted earlier. Its presence was unlike the others, unique, ominous, and unsettling. Yong-Soo doubts him, but the perspective shifts and the truth is revealed. In the shadows beyond Kim's portal, the enormous black wyvern waits, silent, patient, and intelligent. It seems to know they're inside, biding its time until the perfect moment to strike. Outside, Yong-Soo squints into the distance, but sees nothing. He wonders if Kim is just being paranoid. Kim, however, shares a darker theory. What if these creatures are lying in wait, hidden until their prey steps outside? The black wyvern, in particular, seemed disturbingly intelligent. Yong-Soo concedes that in a world like this, paranoia often equals survival. Then he suggests an idea. What if they used a remote-controlled car as bait? Would that massive beast chase something small and moving? They decide to test it. Both men prepare toy cars rigged with humanoid dolls. With a shared breath, they count down and send the decoys rolling through the portal. The dolls emerge, eerily human in silhouette. Suddenly, a shadow blurs overhead. The enormous wyvern swoops down, claws ripping into one of the dolls and shredding it apart. Yong-Soo's jaw drops. The creature had been there all along. His eyes widen in horror as he watches the beast tear the doll to pieces, its jagged teeth gleaming in the dim light, each one nearly the size of Yong-Soo himself. Then, without warning, the wyvern turns, its glowing eyes locking onto the portal. With terrifying speed, it lunges forward, attempting to force its way inside. Kim's heart skips. He shouts for Yong-Soo to open fire. Together, they unleash everything they have. For 15 minutes, the room echoes with gunfire and explosions, thick smoke filling the air. They pause, hoping the beast has fallen. But as the haze clears, its glowing eyes remain fixed on them. Unshaken, the wyvern presses closer, saliva dripping from its jaws, as though it intends to swallow the portal itself. Kim and Yong-Soo stumble back, horrified. Every detail of its monstrous mouth looms before them, its teeth just inches away. Yong-Soo can barely comprehend it. How can this thing still be standing after all that firepower? Kim remembers Pighead's warning about a wyvern the military couldn't bring down, one that shrugged off every strike until the soldiers were forced to retreat. It has to be the same creature. But it's not just brute resilience. Its scales seem unnaturally fortified, as if something beyond mere biology shields it. There's no time to analyze further. Kim yanks out grenades, hurls them into the beast's mouth, and sneers. Let's see if that hide can handle this. The detonations thunder through the portal, shaking the ground. Still, the monster doesn't falter. Kim and Yong-Soo keep throwing grenades, one after another, each blast answered by the wyvern's furious roars. Minutes stretch into an hour. Their muscles ache, shoulders burning from the relentless assault. Yong-Soo groans. He never imagined throwing grenades could be this exhausting. Kim's arm feels like it might snap. Yet the wyvern remains, eyes burning with unbroken resolve. They're trapped, a predator blocking their only exit. Then, with a sudden roar, the wyvern slams its claws against the portal. Sparks fly, but the structure holds. No matter how much force it exerts, it cannot break through. Frustration builds in Kim's chest. They've exhausted their arsenal, yet its scales are still flawless. At last, with what feels like a dismissive snort, the wyvern pulls back. It beats its massive wings and soars away into the distance. Yong-Soo blinks, bewildered. Why would it leave now? Kim suspects the creature simply grew tired of waiting. After hours of fruitless hunting, Perhaps it decided to seek easier prey. Either way, they're safe for now. They wait another hour, tense and silent. When the wyvern doesn't return, they finally breathe, exchanging a heavy glance. Worn out but resolute, they gather their supplies and prepare to move on. As the two men set out once again, Yong-soo mumbles under his breath, shaken by the memory of that monstrous wyvern. Kim shares his concern. Dozens of grenades, and the creature barely flinched. If something that size can shrug off explosives, then what kind of weapon could possibly bring it down? Kim realizes grimly, conventional firepower simply won't be enough. Bombs are made for smaller, fragile targets like humans, not dragons. Kim knows he could pull out a rocket launcher or missile from his subspace, but that level of firepower would level everything nearby, putting innocent lives in danger. That path is closed to him. It would cost him his humanity. Frustrated, he realizes he needs something with the destructive force of a bomb, but without the collateral damage. The longer he thinks, the more his head throbs. Maybe, he muses, if he had something massive dropped from a great height, it could hurt the wyvern. But a tank wouldn't work. The wyvern would easily dodge it. What he needs is something compact, heavy, and lethal. Unfortunately, no such thing exists. All he has are grenades and firearms. Just as he resigns himself to that grim reality, he remembers his magic stones. Checking his crystal, he nearly staggers. 314 stones. How? He recalls killing dozens of orcs and goblins and barely scraping together 50 stones. Perhaps wyverns yield more. Either way, with this many, a plan sparks in his mind. He'll upgrade his abilities. Kim invests 100 stones into his subspace, expanding it to an impressive 50 meters. Now he can transport 4 items per second, a terrifyingly efficient skill. With 189 stones left, he remembers something he had unlocked during a previous upgrade but never tested: his pocket dimension lab. Curiosity takes over. Kim channels 50 stones into it, and the space comes alive. The system describes it as a laboratory where he can merge or separate anything he desires. His eyes light up. This could be the breakthrough he needs: a place to create something new, something devastating. He turns to Yong-soo and tells him to wait inside the subspace for a while. Yong-soo hesitates, then grins, pointing out they're nearly in Gangnam. He notes there are no monsters around, so he'd rather keep driving. Kim presses him, asking if it's truly safe. Yong-soo, ever pragmatic, suggests that if Kim is that worried, he can stay inside the portal. As he continues driving the Mercedes, he notices that the portal stays linked to the vehicle. Intrigued, Kim steps into it and realizes that as Yong-soo drives, the portal moves along with him. Impressed, he agrees to the plan, though tension still coils inside him. Now in his pocket dimension, Kim begins exploring. The space is vast, white, and empty. As he experiments, the system explains the possibilities: objects can be fused together or broken apart into their components. His mind races with ideas. Could he, for example, merge a rifle with its magazine to create a weapon with endless ammunition? No need to reload. Pax confirms it's possible. Then he wonders, could he pull the pin from a grenade while storing it, so it explodes the moment it's released? Pax confirms that too. Eager, Kim tests it. He has Pax remove a pin and fashion a new item at the cost of 15 stones. The result fascinates him, but it's still not enough. A single grenade won't kill a wyvern. He'll need something far stronger. A smirk tugs at his lips as he begins crafting a weapon in secret. Meanwhile, Yong-soo encounters a massive barricade ahead, a wall of abandoned cars stacked high, blocking the road like some post-apocalyptic barricade. He wonders who could have built such an obstacle. Just then, Kim steps out of his subspace and asks how much longer until Gangnam. Yong-soo explains there are no monsters, but the road is sealed off by the blockade. He suggests taking a detour. Kim stops him. No detour is necessary. He has a new weapon to clear the path. Before Yong-soo can ask, metal plates each weighing 20 kilograms shoot out like bullets, crashing into the cars at blistering speed, scattering them like toys. Yong-soo watches in shock as the fused stack of plates, launched at 150 kilometers per second, slams forward with a combined weight of 500 kilograms, obliterating everything in its path. He's furious, shouting, "What on earth did you make?" The scene cuts to a group stationed atop a building, guarding the road and keeping watch for monsters. They're armed with whatever they could scavenge, mostly household tools. A middle-aged man, anxious and bewildered, wonders aloud how the barricade of cars collapsed so quickly. Another man, equally baffled, insists that the wall had withstood multiple monster attacks. It shouldn't have fallen so easily. Through the smoke, they spot a jeep racing forward, accelerating until it screeches to a halt right in front of their building. The men tense, gripping their makeshift weapons, one clutching nothing more than a wooden stick, and stare in stunned silence. Who are these people? Soldiers, they assume, since the vehicle is clearly military. Slowly, the jeep's black-tinted window rolls down. Kim leans out, smiling warmly, and calls up to them, "Is Nurse Kim Jae here?" The scene shifts into a flashback. Kim's second sister, the middle child, delivers a flying kick so powerful he nearly faints. Frustrated, she huffs while Jae, the eldest sister, sits calmly at a desk, studying. She tells them to be quiet, she's preparing for an exam. Kim and his other sister freeze, mouths hanging open in disbelief. Concerned, the middle sister asks Jae if she's all right, wondering why she's suddenly so intense about studying. Jae snaps, demanding if it's really that surprising for her to take her studies seriously. Kim, dead serious, turns to the middle sister. "Yeah, she doesn't look well. We should call Mom. She's lost it." Jae explodes in frustration, shouting for them to let her study in peace. Kim explains that Jae, who is 8 years older, only began taking her studies seriously when he was about 7. Until then, she had never sat still for more than 30 minutes. Her sudden change left the whole family on edge. With wide, worried eyes, Kim and his other sister drag their mother into the room, insisting their eldest sister has lost her mind. Even their mother looks uneasy. Jae is stunned that her own family doesn't believe she's capable of achieving anything. Finally, Jae reveals her secret. With pride, she lifts a thick medical textbook and declares her dream: she's going to be a doctor. "Even if the world ends tomorrow," she proclaims, "today I'll still help those in need." Her eyes gleam with determination, her face glowing with pride. The entire family is speechless, staring at her in disbelief. Kim and his other sister whisper to their mom that Jae's condition must be worsening, maybe she needs a mental hospital immediately. The house erupts into chaos, yelling, laughing, arguing. Days pass, and they assume Jae's passion will fade like a fleeting teenage phase. But it doesn't. Her grades soar. She skyrockets through high school, and before anyone realizes it, she's accepted into the top nursing program she applied to. Her parents, Kim, and her other sister are stunned. The once restless Jae, who couldn't sit still for half an hour, has achieved the unthinkable. Back in the present, Jae stands frozen in shock, staring at Kim, who has returned to find her. It all feels unreal: her journey, her family, her dream, and now this reunion. Tears stream down her face, her cheeks burning with emotion. Kim's eyes well up too, his voice trembling as he tries to speak. Still sobbing, Jae asks how he made it this far, and if he's hurt. Kim reassures her, insisting he's fine and nothing happened. From behind, Yong-soo watches with a gentle smile, quietly grateful that Kim's sister is safe. Kim and Jae embrace tightly, holding on to each other as if the weight of the world no longer exists, if only for this moment. When they finally calm, Kim wipes away his tears and introduces Yong-soo, explaining how much he helped him get here safely. Yong-soo bows respectfully, introducing himself, and Jae, deeply moved, introduces herself as Kim's older sister. She thanks Yong-soo sincerely for protecting her little brother in this apocalyptic nightmare. Then, with a mischievous smile, Jae reaches into her pocket. She tells Kim she has something for him. Knowing he probably hasn't eaten well in all this chaos, she hands him a chocolate bar. But Kim stops her with a gentle laugh. "I'm really full, sis. Actually, I've got enough chocolate to last me a lifetime." His expression shifts to seriousness. He explains that he has a critically injured patient. Jai's face hardens with concern, immediately asking where the patient is and insisting they bring him to her. But Kim explains the patient isn't in the jeep, he's in Kim's subspace. Jai's jaw drops, her eyes widening in shock. "Kim, you have an ability to." Kim nods and explains that he has unlocked a power called subspace, an ability that allows him to open a portal leading to a hidden dimension where only he and those he invites may enter. He laughs nervously, admitting it might terrify others if they were to witness it, and suggests they find somewhere more private before he shows them. Jai agrees, glancing at the people nearby, and the group decides to head inside the hospital for privacy. Slowly, Kim, Young-soo, and Jai enter, and the sight that greets them is heartbreaking. People clutching wooden sticks as their only protection, faces hollow with hunger, sprawled across the floor like lifeless shells. Eventually, they reach Jai's private room. Young-soo closes the door behind them, leaving only the three of them inside. Kim then opens the gateway to his subspace, and as the portal expands, Jai freezes in shock. Her eyes widen and her mouth falls open as she gazes at the vast, city-like expanse before her. "What is this?" she asks, astonished. "Are all these buildings part of your ability?" Kim reassures her, promising to explain later, but insists she follow him for now. They move deeper inside until they reach the spot where Kim has been keeping the injured soldier. Jai immediately rushes to his side and begins examining him. Kim, visibly anxious, asks, "What do you think, Jai? Will he make it?" She grows serious and asks how long the soldier has been in this state. Kim admits he isn't sure, but believes it hasn't been long, as he found the man on his way there. He suspects the soldier had been beaten and tortured. With a solemn expression, Jai tells Kim that the man may not survive much longer. At her words, both Kim and Young-soo freeze, fear flashing across their faces. They had been clinging to the hope that he could still be saved. Desperate, Kim presses, "Is it really that bad?" Jai's tone then shifts. A small smile touches her lips as her hands begin to glow with a faint green aura. "Under normal circumstances, yes. But isn't this cool?" she says with a grin. "I've awakened as a healer." She places her glowing hands against the soldier's chest, and the light spreads across his body. She warns them that her ability is still weak, so a full recovery is unlikely, but assures them he will not die. After several minutes, the glow fades and Jai finishes her healing. The soldier's wounds close, and his breathing steadies. Though not fully recovered, Jai explains that the essential damage has been repaired. He is severely malnourished and will need food and rest to regain strength. Kim suddenly smiles. "Sis, even with the world ending, you're still treating patients just like you said you would." Jai, caught off guard, flushes with embarrassment. "Why bring that up now?" she mutters. But Kim persists, repeating her old words from childhood. "Even if the world ends tomorrow, I'll still treat the sick today." Red-faced, Jai snaps back, "I should have disciplined you like sister number 2 did when you were little." The two of them fall into a familiar bickering rhythm, their playful squabble lightening the mood. Once it settles down, Jai's tone sharpens again. "Now explain everything. What's been going on?" Kim takes his time, recounting the full story, how he was trapped in the storehouse, how he sent messages to Jai and sister number 2, and how the network system collapsed. He describes discovering his subspace ability, accidentally storing the logistics center, and merging with Pax AI. He explains how he met Young-soo and the journey that led them here. As Kim speaks, Jai devours her meal as though she hasn't eaten in days. Kim sighs in exasperation. "Are you even listening, Jai?" With her mouth still full, she nods enthusiastically. "Of course I'm listening." "All right," Kim challenges. "What did I just say?" Jai fumbles, offering only a clumsy summary that skips most of the important details. Kim groans but lets it slide, chuckling at her obvious distraction. The food, after all, is irresistible. It was prepared by Yang-soo's wife, who soon steps forward to introduce herself. Jai smiles warmly at her. "Nice to meet you. I already love you." The room erupts with laughter. Yang-soo's wife offers more food, assuring them there's plenty in the fridge if anyone is still hungry. She also tells Kim she has prepared a bed for him in the first-floor staff room with supplies, suggesting he rest there. Kim tries to thank her, insisting she didn't need to go to such trouble, but she only smiles. "After everything you've done for us, it's the least I could do." Jai, still curious, turns back to Kim. "How did Yang-soo and his wife even get into your subspace?" Kim groans, rubbing his forehead. "I literally just told you the whole story, Jai." Unfazed, she shrugs, so Kim sighs and begins recounting it again. When he finishes, he shifts to explaining his future plans. His goal, he says, is to bring his entire family into his subspace. The first step has already been accomplished. His older sister, Jai, is now safe inside. Next, he will search for sister number 2, who is located in Area 0. At this, Jai's expression changes, her face suddenly grave. In a serious tone, she apologizes to Kim, explaining that she cannot leave with him because she must stay behind. Kim's expression shifts to shock. "Why would you remain in such a dangerous place all alone?" he asks, his voice laced with concern. Jai exhales softly, admitting that the danger is real, but insists there is more to it. She begins to explain that other patients also depend on her, and though other nurses are available to help, her words trail off as the scene shifts. Inside another building, a shadowy figure observes through a window, watching Kim and Jai's residence. He mutters about 2 people arriving in a military jeep and recalls his guards reporting a loud crash outside. The wall had been smashed through by the vehicle. He wonders aloud, puzzled, if they might be part of special forces. Before he can speculate further, an unfamiliar voice interrupts, suggesting that one of them may actually be Jai's younger brother. The man's face emerges from the shadows, ugly, intimidating. His companion, sounding cautiously hopeful, points out that if one of them is indeed Jai's brother, they might not be enemies but simply seeking food and shelter. With their control over the food supply, they could easily manipulate Kim if needed. But the ugly man's expression hardens into a smirk. "Do you really believe those 2 are stronger than you?" he asks coldly. At that moment, a massive figure, nearly 7 feet tall, steps forward from the darkness. His grotesque body is swollen with muscles, veins bulging, and his lifeless eyes give him the appearance of a walking corpse. The hulking man reassures his superior that no one could possibly be stronger than him. The boss instructs him to greet Jai and her brother warmly, pretending to be kind, while also repairing the damaged car wall. The giant nods, remarking that he has already doubled the wall's height, ensuring that it cannot be breached again. The scene shifts back to Kim and Jai. Jai begins to tell Kim about the department head, Jean. She reveals that Jean possesses an awakened ability, one that allows him to control minds and poison his victims. Kim's expression grows grim as he listens carefully. Jai continues, explaining that Jean has taken control of nearly all the awakened individuals in the area, using them to guard both the food and the monostone supplies. Because of this, the people in Jai's building are starving. She admits that she has been secretly stealing monostones, attempting to strengthen her ability so she might one day cure those who are poisoned or enslaved by Jean's influence. Her plan is to remain behind and help these people, while Kim focuses on rescuing their parents. But Kim firmly refuses. Frustrated, Jai argues that the people here are on the verge of death, with no food or water to sustain them. Before she can continue, Kim interrupts, his tone sharp with irritation. "Did you even listen to everything I told you?" he says, arms crossed, eyes closed. Jai blinks in confusion, waiting. Kim continues, Jean's primary weapon is food, right? Jai hesitates, then nods with a sly smile. Then this problem is nothing for me, Kim declares confidently. He tells her to watch closely as he demonstrates his ability. Jai cringes slightly, muttering that it feels like Kim's embarrassing middle school phase has returned. But her words die in her throat as her eyes widen in shock. From Kim's subspace, piles of meat, vegetables, water, and countless provisions spill into the room. The supplies pour down in such abundance that the space becomes packed to the brim. Jai and the others stare in stunned silence. Kim has just revealed what appears to be an infinite food source and ultimate exploit.